When I was 20, there was an accident, wrong place, wrong time, and I ended up with a broken back. I spent the next decade following expert advice, only to find out it made everything worse. And I think one of the most surprising realizations I've had recently is how equally these insights apply to a crushed vertebra or to a mine site. So here are my 4 biggest takeaways after wasting years chasing the wrong solutions. The most dangerous advice is advice for the masses. After my accident, I followed what the experts said. I spent thousands of dollars on specialists like physiotherapists, osteopaths, and remedial massage. I spent up to an hour every single day rolling and stretching and using trigger point therapy just to try and manage the discomfort. But despite all of this effort, the chronic pain only got worse, as did the severity and the frequency of my injuries. Reflecting recently, I realized that we see this exact same pattern playing out in the mining industry. Process specialists see process problems, MOS consultants see MOS problems, tech providers see tech problems. Everyone approaches the problem through their own lens, through their own bias. How many consultants have told you that their solution is exactly what you need without first understanding your site? It's no wonder that studies indicate that roughly 70% of change management initiatives fail to achieve their intended goals. The harder you work at the wrong solution, the further you get from success. For example, everyone told me that yoga and Pilates were best practice for managing injuries. So I signed up at a studio and I went 6 days a week for 9 months straight. I never missed a day. But despite my dedication and my perseverance, absolutely nothing changed for me. The advice wasn't bad. I could see that these modalities helped people every time I went to class. They were building core strength, they were building joint strength, but they had a system that already worked. It didn't work for me because it wasn't designed for where my system was. And we see this in the industry too. It was widely reported a few years ago that 67% of strategic initiatives failed due to poor execution. However, recent research suggests that this is incomplete. Like my attempts, many projects were actually doomed before they even started, due to poor strategic formation. This is the critical assessment step that most operations skip. And when you see what happened in my case, you'll understand why this matters so much. Realizing that my hard work with yoga and Pilates hadn't paid off, and I was worried about what the next decade would look like for me, I booked what was supposed to be a 30-minute consult with a movement specialist that came highly recommended by a friend I trusted. Ironically, this specialist was located in the building next door to the studio I'd been going to for 9 months. That 30-minute assessment turned into 3 hours, and I vividly recall that every time they assessed something, they said, interesting. Not what you want to hear. They saw my body as a system. They looked past my crushed vertebra, the sore knee, the chronic lower back pain, and the myriad of other pain and complaints that I had, and focused on my movement from first principles. They looked at what is the one problem we can solve that will solve everything. At the end of that assessment, they told me I had to stop everything I was doing. No more gym, no more running, no more surfing. I had to hit pause on all the activities that I loved and kept me sane so that I could rebuild my system from the ground up. The next week, I was lying face down on the gym floor, just doing basic movements like trying to move my arm off the ground. I looked like one of those Japanese money cats. And week after week, I was back in the gym, relearning basic movements. I even had to relearn how to breathe properly, as without realizing it, my rib cage had stiffened to resemble a corset. I'd become the frog, unaware that the water temperature had been rising around me for a decade. Tired of the pain, I just threw myself at solutions that I would hope would fix the situation without truly understanding the problem. I see the same thing in mining. Sites start competitive tenders for projects all the time. Every request for proposal skips the problem-aware stage. They skip straight over the diagnostic and straight to silver bullets. I can empathize. You reach a point where you're so tired and frustrated, you just want things to work. But I know firsthand that this approach doesn't. The reality is that you must first fully understand the complexities of your system and the biases you have when looking at it before deciding on the solution. Your foundation determines your ceiling. I'm quite an active person, and I was trying to maintain my fitness with a broken foundation. To twist a common phrase, I was building upon the sand and not upon the rock. Sites do this all the time, trying to grow and expand, adding new technology, hoping that this will be the solution to their production pains. But we've seen time and time again that complexity fails to scale. For me, trying to get back to where I was before the injury was incredibly frustrating. It was slow, non-linear, and just full of setbacks. But since I started working with a coach that started with a diagnostic and had a systematic approach that was focused on the fundamentals of my movement, it's been a lot more predictable and consistent. My back pain has completely disappeared. It's been gone for a few years now, which is great. I'm not there yet, but my system is getting closer to the point where things like yoga and Pilates may actually be beneficial for me. For mining companies, Bain found that improving operational basics regularly boosts production and efficiency by 15 to 30%. Our own case studies indicate that is a little bit conservative. MIT research shows that companies focusing on foundational capabilities before advanced solutions achieve 3 times better long-term performance than those that rush into complex solutions first. So my advice to you, whether you're dealing with a persistent injury or operational chaos, stop guessing, look at the big picture without bias, and focus on fixing the fundamentals in the right sequence. I learned this the hard way, and I hope you don't have to. If you're curious about the state of your site, you can now access our free assessment tool. It will help you identify which fundamental capabilities you need to focus on.